Dave. This is Rod. This is Dave Rubin. We're going to talk today about getting into the guitar. I don't want to say later in life. Let's say 40s, like adults getting into guitar. We're going to talk about all that stuff, how to get better, what to work on, what we teach, like people of that. Like, Dave, you got a lot of experience in this. Like you've been doing this. Like, when did you start teaching guitar? Because you do a lot of stuff. You write books. You have given it, like, you've talked to all my heroes. You're interviewing and all that. So when did you get?
Play and perform myself? So
Yes,
all of that.
which
Yeah.
we're going to talk about more about that when we
Yes.
get to the. Yes.
Well, a long time ago, Rod. I mean, somewhere in the neighborhood, literally starting to give lessons around 1980,
Okay.
81, the early 80s. So
Okay.
since then,
All right.
and the books actually it's easy to pinpoint because of the year my daughter was born. Was like 1988.
Okay.
That was the Hal Leonard thing. But I had done some magazine writing before then.
I discovered you with the magazines. I'm not sure what came first, but it's like you were.
The magazines came first.
Hmm?
Then that was my introduction to Hal Leonard. Anyway.
Okay. All right. So what are the kinds of stuff? Okay, so the kinds of people that you teach, they are, I don't want to say older, but they're not kids. Like, what kinds of things do we go over? Like, some of the same stuff, obviously,
Right.
but like, what is the focus of your lessons?
Well, I would say that always the main focus and then everything goes around it is, I mean, people want to solo. They want to learn how to solo better. And I do a lot of in the lesson jamming with my students besides that I write things out and record it. Now these days it's on their phone.
Yes.
When I started doing it, it was cassettes.
Right. Same here.
The lessons, now they use their phone, which is wonderful. And so I do a big part of it is playing with the student to really demonstrate. Like, we'll jam and I'll tell them, okay, we're going to trade solos here. When I solo, I'm not trying to play hot licks here and show off what I can do. What I'm going to do is show you some ideas that maybe you haven't thought of and you need to work on, or we can talk about. So I'm going to try to give you ideas instead of just telling you. I'm going to play them.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a lot of the focus. You song, but rhythm guitar too, and lots of of course, blues are always at the heart of it. But I consider myself I don't like that term, blues man. I don't feel I am heavily into the blues, and
Right.
But Buddy Guy is a blues man. I'm not a blues man, but I am heavily into the blues.
And of course, you're a supporter of the blues.
Oh, huge.
Yeah.
Player, and always trying to get better as a player and know more about it myself. And of course, classic rock. And as I explained, and because my students know classic rock, like most people do, even young people know classic rock. But like you're saying, 45 and up, and that's my age group.
Right.
Who are married, they often have children, they have a career. They may have played when they were younger and then gave it up for a while because they had a family and career thing, and now they have a little more time and maybe slightly more discretionary income. And those are my students, and they understand that if you want to learn to play, this one example, you want to learn to play rock rhythm guitar, then we're going to talk about the Rolling Stones.
Okay, great.
And we're going to talk about Who to a degree too. And not only that. Anyway, that's a long answer to your question,
but that brings to mind. I was just having this discussion with my son about the differences between players and teachers. It's like, you're not just, the hard part about teaching is not doing all the licks.
Right.
It's about breaking down something that is seemingly difficult into something that is that is approachable. It's approachable, and it also identifies a goal of the students. Okay, so not everything needs to be learned. Like, I don't know, how much of the reading do you teach?
None.
See what I'm saying? In other words, and I agree with you. In other words, a lot of people talk about, why do I need to learn to read? Because that's kind of a thing that I know why, like if you're in an orchestra, of course, that's a survival skill. But yes, to spend all your time, you're 45, you're 50, you're 53 years old. If you're spending all your time learning how to read, then you don't get that time back.
No, and
And it
it's
might be that might be the end of your dreams also.
absolutely. But
There's,
my students don't read; they don't want to learn to read, and I tell them you don't have to.
yeah, yeah, it's never been
You'll,
an
you'll learn some theories out. I do think some theory
absolute theory. Yes. Yeah,
is
yeah.
is, is important. Um, but yeah, you're absolutely right. Okay. And one of the first things I tell people, like once they send me an email wanting to know about the lessons, or even call me up, which is fine. I make a point of saying this has to be fun. I will make this fun. I will make the lessons fun. You have a job, or you had a job. This can't be your job. Now you have to
Right, right.
practice. You have to practice. There's no getting around that. I said,
Right.
but we're going to make it fun. So there's no
So
music reading.
practice becomes play.
Yes,
Yeah. Certainly you got to work on stuff. Certainly stuff is going to sound, maybe it's not going to sound great right off the bat, but that is the learning curve.
right,
Unless you don't grow.
right.
So, but that's not an option. So now recently I read a book by the guy from 38 Special that was talking about the blues in a way that we all know, but I'd never heard it articulated that way. That it was like the secret language that enabled that person to go into a whole different sphere of, he knew chords and he knew some songs and he knew that, but once he discovered the blues, that was all the other stuff that made the guitar playing he loved the thing. And it's Jeff Carlisi, I think his name was.
Yes, great player.
Yeah, he's got
Un,
a book out.
unsung rock guitar hero. I didn't know he wrote a book.
Yeah, it's wonderful. It's like a music, kind of a guitar. It tracks some of his music and his business and all that kind of stuff. But he talks about what we do, and he said his growth, and it's like the blues as being that central thing. So in your lessons, you're not, you say you don't like, and I understand this, like the blues man, okay, but the blues is that kind of central language that everything of people of a certain age listen to. That is the kind of the Rosetta Stone, would you call it?
Oh, sure,
Yeah.
sure.
So
It, it is the beginning of American. You know, it's not the beginning of all American music, but it certainly is the beginning of post 1900.
right, right. It is that ingredient that's in everything. It's in
And
that.
every and it should be,
Yes.
because
So
that's where all the feeling is.
yeah, yeah,
Not That doesn't mean nothing else has feeling. It just means that the source of the feeling is there.
yeah, yeah. But it's in lots and lots and lots of stuff, and
Oh,
stuff
sure,
you might not even expect.
that's true.
Yeah, yeah. So now these, like, students that are getting into this, so we can talk about some of the advantages of starting older, or um, like the older students. I'm trying to think of some of the advantages, and some of the advantages are absolutely, you grew up in a time when the guitar was central to everything that we listened to, and music meant something. When I say that, sometimes I hear kids, music's not the thing anymore. Like the video games, the thing, and or whatever it is, and that's fine for the younger generation. But in this 45 plus, they grew up in a time when all the guys that teach us how to do what we do were guitar heroes.
Yes.
So how can you, what is it, who are the ones that you refer to when you're teaching? Who are the ones that are like the main vessels of how we do what we do?
Specifically blues or
Anybody.
all.
Yeah.
Well, as I just mentioned about rock rhythm guitar,
Right.
use the Stones as examples a lot, and Keith Richards a lot. Just wanted to say something about Jeff Carlisi and 38 Special. My students love Hold On Loosely.
Uh-huh. Yeah,
And
yeah.
because I think it was his birthday recently, and I put those on my Facebook page. He was in. I was thinking about him again, and I brought him up with people that who may not have never played the song, but they've heard it,
Yeah.
and they love it. And I mean, just that signature figure, right? From the E to D, the way he plays it, I like. And I read how he got that, and I'm digressing a bit here.
Hmm.
Right, it's okay. I read that he got the idea from the Cars. Uh, which Cars tune is it? Cars song is it? I don't mind you coming around.
Okay, hold on.
Time. You know how that starts off? Right. Okay.
I don't mind you coming here.
Okay. Carlisi said that's where he got the idea. Now, can you play that figure, the opening figure of Hold On Loosely? Do you remember it? That's it. Brilliant.
I'm probably messing it up, but yeah.
Oh, you had the initial part. I think it's brilliant.
Yeah.
I just wanted to mention it, and then his solos. Show me tastier so
All right.
show me tastier playing than what he does on there, and hardly anybody knows his name.
Right.
Well,
Right.
okay, but that's not what you asked me. So it's always going to be Stones and lots of basic 12-bar blues with boogie patterns,
Yeah.
right? Boogie patterns of which people refer to as cut boogie, which is the walking full boogie pattern
Okay.
with class sevens and six. And this is just fifths and sixths. You can have the seventh. So lots of that and the variations.
Yes.
Right. Right.
Yep. So you called it cut?
Well, I didn't come up with that term. This is just for when you're communicating with someone. When you just hear the Chuck Berry, if people hear this, they think Chuck Berry. But it could be Robert Johnson too, because
Right.
he's with way back in the 30s playing this.
Right.
They call this just fifths and sixths. And again,
Right.
said some theory is worth knowing.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
What this means, the harmonized scale and stuff. Reading music, not important. So people call this, and then you could add the flat sevens too, like Sweet Home Chicago. That's
Right,
where
right.
you prominently hear that. When it's not the first song, but it's like the biggest one from the 30s. Lots of that. All variations like that. Work
Yep.
a little top in. Probably ZZ Top. You're talking about the bands that I would make, and they understand. They understand, and I explain it if they don't know it right away. That music, and then the classic rock. I'm talking mostly 60s and 70s here.
Right.
That's the foundation. I mean, that was the time when people were bringing in the blues a lot into rock. Not that it wasn't there in the 50s. It was clearly.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And once you know that, because that's where you're going to everything else, almost everything else, is some variation on that 70s, 80s, 90s, and current rock. talking rock here. We're not talking some other genre. Then you'll make it easier for you to understand that.
Mm-hmm.
And people
That's
I
like the
think that,
common. That is the thread between like a. So there was a time that rock and roll was defined as part of the main ingredient was the blues.
yes,
So that part of the main ingredient was the blues, and it was the ability to like. And then you were talking about earlier. We were talking about Chuck Berry and his importance,
right,
and it's like he's the one. Like I know Bill Haley in the Comets, "Rock Around the Clock." That was a 12-bar blues.
yes, indeed,
Okay, but that was kind of a different generation. It's kind of a jump blues kind of song. It more coming
yeah,
from that end. When Chuck Berry came along, that was kind of a new blueprint that people copied for the next 40 years
yeah, at least,
or longer. I don't know.
at least,
Even to now, those who like the guitar stuff, the guitar hero or leads and soloing, all that stuff dates back to the Chuck Berry.
indeed.
So so do you get into ear training? Do your students are they playing by? Are you trying to show them how to play by ear?
Well, they they used to do it more often. I used to hear it seemed students years ago, Rod, but now actually they look at a lot of things. They look at lessons online, so they're actually learning some things online, and then sometimes you have to correct them.
Yeah, yeah,
It
often.
it it's a crapshoot a
Yeah,
bit. There's real good people on there. I'm not going to give them a plug here.
right.
They plug their own self. There's good people on there, and you can learn. And I tell people you can learn everywhere. And I like it when they see something online and they come in and they tell it to me or they show it to me. I say, well, yeah, that's not quite right, or that's not really what's happening there. But yeah, you got a good start, but not like real identify that note. It's more like an osmosis
Okay.
that I see. But we do talk about it. We do talk about it, but I sort of let that kind of happen
Organically.
organically as we go on. Good word.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so how many of your students play with other people? How important is that for you?
I encourage them all the time, Rod. I think it's really, I tell them all the time, and there's the shyness factor with that.
Yeah.
People it takes them, they usually get used to playing in front of me pretty quickly. I make
Uh-huh.
it easy, try to make it easy. I tell them it's not a performance when you're here. This is a lesson.
Right, right, right.
And I tell them I practice every day because I want to get better. I want to
Yeah.
play better too.
And you've
Uh,
been at this. Yes, that's an interesting point to make. Is like I know for myself, I've been at this for 45 years plus ish.
you and me both,
Yeah, and you even probably longer because you
like
huh?
slightly, only slightly.
Okay, okay. So so okay, so now like and I guess like do you ever think about songs as being like all these things that you need to teach and somebody needs to learn? Like you talk about the theory, you talk about rhythm, your timing, uh, strumming, all these kinds of things. Using the song as a kind of like a hub.
Yes.
That
And
how?
yes, and I always explain. I said, you know, one of the things I say is, if I know you want to play songs. This is me talking to the student. I know you want to play your favorites, and you want to play them. And I said, if I can work those into the lesson as examples of some technique or talking about or theory, I will. I said, but the ones I'm showing you, they may be some of my favorites, but that's not why I'm showing them to you.
Right, right, right.
They're ones to learn from.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
Hendrix, Stones. I mean, the classic Cream.
There's a
Besides
reason why
blues
everybody
guy.
learns them. There's kind of a reason why everyone learns them, not just because uh,
Excuse me.
it's not necessarily even my music. In other words, I was 2 when Jimi Hendrix died. So his music wasn't new when I knew about music. In other words, the reason people learn that stuff is because of this, this, and this. And this is what you can steal from it. And steal such a harsh word, but you know what I'm saying.
Right. Yes.
Okay, so what other things are you thinking? Like as we're getting older, the benefits, people have more resources. Not just older people, but all people. It's easier to learn now than it ever has been because of the
Sure.
resources. And there's different kinds of resources, but like certainly you mentioned YouTube as they learn
Mhm.
it from YouTube. That is one thing, and it's sometimes it's hit and miss, and that's true. But you get
Right.
to see like the story about Paul McCartney having to take the bus uh, 45 minutes away to learn a B7 chord.
I never heard that one. That's a good
Those
one.
days are gone, and it's like he would learn the chord, and he would learn it, learn it, and learn it, and then he'd go back to his friends. And it's like, look what I learned. And it's like it was a big deal. Every generation, every couple generations, that the learning thing is a little bit easier. So
The
other
point.
benefits.
Yeah. You and I point out, and I would say both of us, and I say this to my students sometime, when we started learning first guitar, there weren't teachers like you and me.
That's true.
I only had a couple of teachers. They were terrible for the
Yeah.
most part. Well, I got to New York and talked to a couple of jazz guys because I needed some help with the theory and
Yeah.
wanted a little bit of foundational jazz at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like the McCartney thing. Man, we really had a lot of misinformation. Oh God.
Yeah. Yeah. It was. Yeah. I don't even, we haven't even talked about this, but like you bringing up the point that the teachers that we grew up with were horrible because they were doing what they thought was the right thing to do, and what the right thing to do was all centered around reading, and it wasn't centered around the styles
Right.
that we were interested in playing. The reason we started playing guitar, that can be put into your personal journey. It doesn't have to be something that is separate.
Right.
With that said, you're going to learn stuff that you're going to learn songs that are teaching certain things. Like if you never been like you were talking about Hey Joe, everybody should learn Hey Joe.
Yeah,
There's things you get out of that. There's life things you get out of that.
absolutely.
But and there's probably a dozen or so songs like that. But it's like um so anyway, do we have anything you want to add? What are you up to? What are you up to these days? You're continually writing. You're doing different things. So what are the latest things that that are coming out that you're publishing?
Well, just finishing up besides the Skolnick book, uh, first 50 riffs and patterns you should know on rhythm guitar. That's literally the long title. Just just finishing that up. So Hal Leonard has a series of first 50, and
Right.
then all these other things. And instead of doing a blues thing, which they may have already done with somebody, although that's in there because I did it by categories. I
Yeah.
did it blues, rock, jazz, country. Um, so that one is literally going out the door this week,
That's
uh,
wonderful.
and a little bit in between on the newest projects, which I'm going to get into this week. You said something before, and I wanted to give an answer to it because you brought up a good point, and then now I'm forgetting it. But you talked about I know we only have a little bit of time.
We have all the time in the world.
Okay, good to know. You talked about being old. Let's talk about that being older thing again. Um, I don't know. To be honest, I never thought that I was going to be a big. If I played the guitar, I was going to be a big star.
Right.
Now I think a lot of people think that, and I
Right.
don't. I don't criticize it at all.
Right.
I just had grown up listening to guitar music. Chuck Berry was one of my earliest heroes. Dwayne Eddy, all the
Right.
instruments. I don't sing. I
Right.
play instrumental music, so I was always drawn to that. Even now, when I play private parties, which I want to get back to doing, which I was doing before COVID, I just play instrumentals. I've done arrangements of classic rock, lots of blues, of course, and a couple of jazz standards. But so the people, when you start talking 45 plus into the 50s, stuff, I don't think any of those people think they're going to be big rock stars either.
Yeah,
They
well,
love
that's not the point, too.
yeah,
It's gonna enhance your life in ways that are so much beyond being a big rock star. More to the point, it may get you on a concert stage.
yes,
It may get you meeting lots of people that you would never have met otherwise. Like we would never be talking if we didn't have music.
that's right.
You know what I mean? Lots of other experiences that, and I think they're good experiences. I wouldn't trade any of them.
No, me
So,
either.
yeah. So, and I think the older generation knows that it's not about being a rock star. It's about adding something to your life that will improve it.
Yes. And it really, I see it really means a lot to people. Again, at that age, not that it couldn't when you're younger. We're not leaving anybody out here.
Absolutely not.
Uh, because I see that kind of enthusiasm in very young players too. But to your point, adding something that wasn't there, but they always wanted to do it. They grew up hearing the music, and now they're getting to play some of it, and they just feel great about it,
Yeah.
and they progress. And you asked about getting out. Now I remember about getting out and playing. I tell them all that all the time. People that I feel are at that level, they can go to jam sessions or open mic nights.
Yes.
I say, what would be the best way for you to learn besides coming here and taking lessons? And I'll do my best to help you. Play with other people.
Yes.
Go play with other people. I always say, do you have friends or family members who play music? You should jam with them, other guitar players.
Yeah.
I did that so many countless times with friends. I said, nothing better than that. You go and do that, and then you come back and tell me about
Yeah.
it. Ask the question. You say, oh, the other guy called this song. I didn't know it. He showed it to me, and then I didn't know what to do here. And when we go through that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yes, I encourage that. And I have students who are in bands.
So I was going to say you could that can be like you can start a band, and I think that's wonderful. But the other thing is just playing with people.
Right.
It doesn't have to be a marriage. Like a band is kind of like a marriage.
Yes, it is.
Okay. So you can play with people and not be married to them. Like the jam sessions, the open mics, that kind of thing. Meeting other people. I think both are valuable.
Yes, read.
Yeah. Yep. And it's like and somebody outside of you, outside of what your style is, that's also cool.
That too.
Because if you don't just want to play with people that are just identical to you, you want to grow. So anyway, so thank you, Dave. Thank you for this. Is there anything else we any kind of wisdom we can impart? So experiential learning, having a teacher is good. Also, hitting a stage or hitting an open mic and starting that garage band, you couldn't start when you were 13 years old or 9 years old or whatever, because of whatever reason you now have more control over your life and you can do these kinds of things. That's now a possibility. So I go for it. I'm guessing.
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. And this may sound kind of self-serving for both of us, but it's true, and I truly believe it is. I tell them, use all those other resources. Yes, look at all those teachers you want to, and some of those songs on YouTube. You can learn a lot. You can learn from anybody. You go to a guitar store to try out a guitar. Guy next to you is playing something else. Ask him what he's doing, or listen to what he's playing. I said, but there is no substitute for a private teacher who sits across from you and hears you play each week.
Right.
So you get in, and you get the instant feedback and can understand you. And I always try to, I guess, along with that, again, I try to, as much as I can, work in the music that the people, my students, personally like. Usually, there's a lot we have in common, or
There's a lot of overlap.
yeah, why are you coming to see me anyway? You look me up online or whatever. You see what I teach and what I write about. But yeah, that part there, very, very, very important to get that. Of course, you have to find the right one. Not the teachers. And I say that I'm not for everybody, but
Yeah.
I try to. I enjoy teaching. I love teaching. I love playing the guitar.
Hmm.
I tell them how fortunate we are that we can even do it. Even my students starting out, and you and I,
Right.
Rod, how fortunate are we that we can get up each day? I see your guitars, you see mine on the walls. You
Right.
get up each day and come in here and pick up the guitar and play it.
Yep.
How fortunate are we?
Something, yeah, kind of like that diamond we're shining every day to getting a little bit better, a little bit better.
Right.
Yep. Yep. So, side note, uh, Humble Pie live from the Fillmore. Have you ever heard that album?
That you're ending on a bit of humor here at the end.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good
Again,
God.
another band. Yeah, poor Marriott.
Yeah.
And Frampton now he's not doing well, but physically. But oh my God, yes. Turn your life around listening to that.
Yeah, it was like a Peter Frampton and yeah, whatever. That's new discovery. But anyway. All
You
right.
know, you know what we need to do next time, Rod?
What's
Is
that?
look at the bands that we talked about so far.
Yeah.
Most were British bands, not all.
Right.
We ought to talk about have a Zoom about the influence of British musicians on blues and rock and why that happened. And I have talked to some of those people about it. Poor John Mayall, rest in peace, right?
Yeah. Yeah. How many? Okay, how many others have you talked to about like Jeff Beck?
Beck, thrilled.
Yeah. Yeah, of course.
Still mourning. Still mourning.
Yeah.
Yeah, Beck, Mick Taylor,
Okay.
John McVie.
Right.
Never talked to Clapton, never talked to Townsend. Again, two of my heroes that I wish that I had. Yeah, those are. Didn't talk to Keith. Shook his hand once after a gig. That was all the closest I got to Keith.
That's pretty close, though.
Yeah, it's pretty close. It was pretty close. It was. And by the way, again, because it's all about the age thing we're talking about.
Right.
My wife and I and the daughter and her husband went to see the Stones in May. They were here in New York playing outside at a Giant Stadium.
Yes.
Still killing it, Rod.
Yeah, yeah.
Still.
That's a bucket list thing, and I'm mad at myself because I don't know how many more times they're going to be able to do that.
Yeah,
Mick Jagger's like 82.
Yes, he is. I want to tell you something, Rod. They had all the enthusiasm, I'm sure, that they ever had, or that you and I still have.
Well,
it was there. It was thrilling. I had tears in my eyes.
Yeah.
I had tears in my eyes watching them.
Yeah.
Hearing those, well, of course, my heroes,
right?
Since I did, and then to see them so excited to still play.
Yeah.
And to play Satisfaction like it was the first time.
Right. Right.
And Keith, Keith, he's hopefully for not a long time. Keith's going to die with the guitar in his hand.
Yeah. I'm counting every day as a blessing that he's still with us because
it is a blessing. So but maybe we could talk. That's a great topic.
Also, rhythm guitar. We could talk about all kinds of things rhythm guitar.
Because I make a big fuss about that too.
Right.
Make a big fuss about that.
Right.
What do we tell them, Rod? If you're in a band, most kind of big, rock songs, classic kind of rock songs, 90% of the time you're playing rhythm. You're
Right.
not so.
Well, that's the song.
Yeah, that's
The lead
song.
isn't the song.
Yeah.
The
Yeah,
lead is the ornamentation over top of the song. But yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Anyway,
All right.
you and I could go on and on for hours yet, but those are in the future.
Yeah. Hi, this is Rod from Boomer Guitar Sessions. I personally wanted to thank you for being part of our community. If you like what we're doing here and you want to see more of it, please hit the like, subscribe, and share. And this helps me spread my musical messages to all over the world. Thank you. I appreciate you. And always remember,